My name is Miles Morales. I'm Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man.
Miles! Wanna get out of here?
Oh! When? This is unbelievable.
This is the lobby.
You have a choice between saving one person and saving every world.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse is the sequel to the Academy Award-winning animated film Into the Spiderverse, as written by animation veterans Phil Lord and Chris Miller. After reuniting with Gwen Stacy, Miles Morales finds himself catapulted across the multiverse where he encounters a team of elite spider people. But when the heroes clash on how to deal with a new threat, Miles becomes pitted against the other spiders as he tries to save the people he loves most. The first Spider-Verse film was easily my favorite animated film of all time and one of my top 2 favorite movies ever. I could honestly go on about that film for ages, and I plan on making a full review of it because it deserves its own video. So with that said, I don't think it should be a surprise when I say this was my most anticipated film of the whole year. But at the same time, I was cautiously optimistic since this movie had so much to live up to with how phenomenal and game-changing its predecessor was, on top of how much I personally adored it. And I don't know how they did it, but Across the Spiderverse may have surpassed the first film for me. I am not exaggerating when I say this is not only one of the greatest animated films I've seen in my life, but it's one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. And it could very well rank among the best sequels ever made. Just like the original, this film has some of the best and most innovative visuals in any animated movie. The colors are vibrant and popping. The fast movements and frame drops enhance every action sequence. The way they blend characters with different art styles still never fails to impress me, and it replicates the art of comic book illustrations perfectly. Pretty much all the strengths of the first film's animation are carried over into this movie, and there are a few scenes where you could tell the animators got to experiment and hide so many small details in each frame that viewers will discover on each rewatch. And as I just mentioned, the action sequences in this film are elevated by the animation. They are just truly mesmerizing, fast-paced, thrilling, and endlessly fun to watch. There's even one character in the film named Spider-Punk who is animated in such a staggering way that definitely pushed what could be accomplished for character animation in a film. Another strength this film carried over from its predecessor is that it's hysterical. I was laughing so hard on multiple occasions, even if I think the first movie is funnier overall. I know a lot of people had a hard time listening to the jokes and dialogue while watching the film due to some sound issues, but that wasn't a problem for me in the IMAX theater I saw it in, so I guess they must have mixed the film correctly, or I just have really good hearing. And now that they are sending out a new version of the film with better audio correction, I'm guessing it shouldn't be a huge issue for much longer. And I mean, watching Spider-Verse with quiet dialogue is better than watching a movie where the sound cuts off at crucial moments. Am I right, Lightyear projectionist? Which I would definitely like considering the jokester technology in my theater wouldn't play the audio for the film correctly. Yeah, no joke, during my screening, the audio for the film would cut out completely at random moments for a couple of seconds during the film, 2 of which were during important plot points. Although my audience seemed to be just as angry when that happened, and rightfully so.
To infinity?
Hey, what's the deal? Boo!
Just like the first movie, this film has extremely fast pacing despite this being the longest American animated film ever made. There's a lot going on between the action, visuals, and storyline that can become overwhelming. But somehow, the pacing of this film was never an issue. Everything happening in the movie felt necessary to the overall story the filmmakers were trying to tell and set up for the next movie. And enough time is spent on each location and storyline so that nothing feels underdeveloped or overshadowed by something else going on in the narrative. And because everything is moving so fast and efficiently, the movie never drags in any areas until a few scenes near the end. And even then, the film remains widely entertaining and suspenseful. I don't think I've seen an animated movie as unpredictable as this one. There were so many twists and new revelations revealed throughout the story as the characters' journeys progress. I can guarantee audiences are going to be on the edge of their seats for most of the movie. The whole time I was in the theater watching this, all I could do was sit there and wonder what crazy thing would happen next, only for the movie to then do something even more shocking and unexpected, resulting in an endlessly thrilling narrative to see play out. The way the movie also develops Miles and Gwen is astounding. The interactions they have with their parents in the midst of being the spider people of their universe feel so real and brutally heartbreaking or tremendously heartwarming at times. The film also continues this franchise's perfect understanding of Spider-Man as a character, and the sacrifices he and the other variants of him in every timeline must face. Most of the characters in this film are constantly put in situations that not only challenge them, but ask them what their purpose as a Spider-Man is, and whether they can rise above to become the best version of themselves, just like any Spider-Man story. The scenarios the characters are put in feel like the hardest decisions they've ever made. No matter what, they're going to have to lose something in the end. At this point, I don't think it's a secret that this movie is a part 1 and there is another film coming out next year. And you could tell a lot of the themes and storylines presented in this film are going to have a huge payoff in that film, and I'm really excited to see how they play out there. And I know that the cliffhanger part of the film will definitely divide audiences, especially when you consider how impatient human beings can be. I knew it was a part 1 going in since that was the original title. And knowing that when watching the movie made the ending so much more intense. As the film squeezed in one more tragic twist, I was actually shaking, hoping that this wouldn't be where the film ended. And when it did end, I was simultaneously in utter shock, but also so hyped to see what happens next. Middle chapters and franchises, especially ones like these, can be hard to criticize since we only have half of the story right now. But I feel the same way about this movie's ending as I did with Empire Strikes Back and Infinity War. But not only does the cliffhanger feel very effective, but it also ends at the perfect moment to get the audience excited and speculate on what could possibly happen next. And once the third movie comes out, I feel like this might be the installment people will look back upon with a greater appreciation now that the entire story has been revealed. Where this film really succeeds at though is how it checks off every box a sequel can to be considered a perfect continuation. The film picks up in a very natural way from the first movie, but it also wastes no time at all at filling us in on what's happening in these characters' lives since the events of that film, and expanding on the world of its predecessor in a natural way that opens up so many creative possibilities for the next installments, including this one. The film also introduces so many new compelling themes about family and necessary sacrifices, while also expanding on the themes of what it means to be a hero and how anyone can be Spider-Man. And not only does Across the Spiderverse tell an even more ambitious story than its predecessor, but the new themes and twists the characters discover in the film actually enhance the events of the original movie, which is not an easy thing for a sequel to pull off, but this movie passed that job with flying colors. And I feel that now when I go back to rewatch the original Spider-Verse, I'm going to love it more and more now that I know about the events of this film and the revelations it gave us about the events of the first movie. And just as an extra compliment, the soundtrack for this movie is on another level. Metro Boomin and Daniel Pemberton brought their A-game for every track, and I would argue it's better than the original's already perfect soundtrack. I think my two favorite songs from the film would have to be Calling and Am I Dreaming. Not only are they very catchy and emotionally powerful with some great audio mixing, but they got this nostalgic 2010s vibe to them in the best way. Of course, one of the main appeals of this movie though is seeing hundreds, and I mean hundreds of different characters from the Spider-Man universe on screen together. There are so many insane cameos and different variations of familiar characters in this film that you could pause the movie at any time during the last act of this movie and find at least 5 new absurd or creative characters you didn't catch on your first viewing. This movie basically took No Way Home's cameos and cracked the possibilities of anyone showing up to the max. My theater was going nuts at a couple of moments. But thankfully the movie never loses sight of its story. The cameos are there and they're fun whenever they happen, but the film makes sure to prioritize good storytelling over fan service. The voice cast is also absolutely stellar in this film. Jameek Moore continues to amaze me as Miles Morales. I adored his performance in the first film, and with this script being more demanding for him in terms of the arc Miles gets, he got to show off the range of his voice performing skills. He's just incredible as this character. Haley Steinfeld is also perfect in this. I loved her character and charismatic performance in the first movie, and there are so many scenes in this film where she gets to shine, especially near the beginning and end of the film, during 2 scenes that got me choked up a little. Oscar Isaac has always been a tremendously talented actor, so I wasn't surprised to find out he was awesome in this movie. He manages to make Miguel the compelling character he needed to be, while also giving him a cold-blooded antagonistic presence, and I can't wait to see where they take his character in the next film. To say that Daniel Kaluuya was phenomenal as Hobie Brown would be the biggest understatement that could ever be said about this film. Every scene with him, from the performance to his personality to the animation, was instantly iconic and lovable. Karen Sony was also really fun as Pavitra Parker, and he's a character I would love to see more of. Amanda Stenberg doesn't have too many scenes as Spider-Bite, but I think she did a great job with the material she was given. Isa Rae as Spider-Woman and Jake Johnson's Peter Parker are both extremely entertaining whenever they showed up. Jefferson Davis still proved himself to be one of the best dads in any animated film during this movie, and Brian Tyree Henry did a great job at continuing to make him as lovable and compelling as he is. Miles' mom, Rio, also gets a lot of individual scenes in this film that help flesh her out way more than the first movie did, and I became extremely invested in her early on. But at this point, I'm just stalling to talk about my favorite performance and character in the film. Jason Schwartzman as the Spot, flawless. Just flawless. This character could have been better even if they tried. I love villains that are complete jokes or are extremely menacing and often horrifying threats to the main characters and the world. Spot is a combination of both of those kinds of villains, with a bit of a twist involving his identity to top it all off. And it makes his journey in the film and his presence all the more terrifying to see play out, while at the same time being a great source of humor and extremely entertaining every time he shows up. His writing is spot on, and he's easily made his mark as one of the best villains in any animated film I've seen. And I feel confident saying that even though we've only seen a taste of what he can do. Wait a second. Spot on writing. Oh god, that was completely unintentional what I just did there, I swear. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse is a once-in-a-lifetime monumental achievement in the animation medium and the art of film in general, improving on its legendary predecessor in every way imaginable by crafting a visually jaw-dropping, action-packed, thrilling sequel that perfectly expands on and enhances its predecessor with an ambitious story that not only stands on its own, but acts as a brilliant setup for its next installment, not only making it an easy contender for the best movie of the year, but one of the best animated films of all time. I know a lot of what I've said in this review may seem exaggerated, but this film really is that amazing, and it deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible. The ironic part of all of this is that even after all the praise I've just given this movie, I still don't think any word I have said in this video will do this movie justice. It is a film that needs to be seen to be believed, and it's absolutely a must-watch for this summer. If you are a fan of the original Spider-Verse, Marvel, superheroes, the animation medium, the art of film, or just have any connection to Spider-Man, stop what you are doing right now and go see this movie. And even if you're not a comic book movie person, I can guarantee this movie is going to blow your mind in some way or another. Not only do I think this film has solidified Sony Pictures Animation as one of the best animation studios working today. If this film didn't redeem them for the Emoji Movie and Surf's Up 2, nothing will. But now I can officially say that Spider-Verse can very well be considered one of the greatest franchises in movie history, and I will be first in line day one for whatever comes next. I'm going to give Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse a 10 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Feel free to leave your thoughts on the film in the comments below. Thanks for watching. As always, if you like this review and you want to see more, be sure to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button, liking the video, and ringing the notification bell to be notified for any upcoming reviews.
All stations, stop Spider-Man.
You? Me?